Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome, welcome, welcome. We're going to consider this the start of a new series, some content that I've always wanted to upload. I'm very opinionated, and I have these thoughts, and I just want to get them out a lot. Uh, Usually, my friends don't always follow the things that I have these thoughts and opinions about because they're not as like entrenched into this dystopian hellhole that is Twitter as I am. But I'm on there entirely too much, and there are things that happen on there that piss me off, and I want to talk about them. But it's kind of boring to just sit in front of the camera in silence and just talk about all the things that piss me off. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the things that piss me off while I detangle and deep condition my hair. This is only going to be the first of many. There will be more. I generally like to deep condition my hair every week, but sometimes I don't get to it. Twitter pisses me off at least every day, so it could be more often than that. We'll work this out together. Today, though, my hair is a mess. I basically haven't touched it in the last 2 weeks. Pandemic, all those things. So I have quite a bit of detangling to do. There's a lot of water and Eco Styler gel up here. And it just needs some TLC. On top of that, I'm really pissed off about this whole conversation that's been happening on Twitter about AAVE. So let's get into all of that. Oh, that feels so good. So let's start with going over the basics. What is AAVE? That stands for African American Vernacular English. It is the term, I guess, academically used to replace Ebonics, but it still means the same thing. It's just kind of an elevated way of saying it. African American Vernacular English, formerly known as Ebonics or AAVE, it is the way that Black Americans have been communicating with each other since we've been forced to communicate in the English language. We've always had our own spin to it, our own way of understanding each other. I'm sure many people know we've had our own slang and things like that. However, the term AAVE gives it legitimacy. What I mean by that is, since it was designated as a vernacular English, that kind of designates it as like a dialect. I'm actually literally going to Google this so that I get this description down as perfect as possible. AAVE, also known as African American Vernacular English, African American Variety of English, African American English, Black English, Black English Vernacular, African American Language. It is in the Oxford Handbook. In popular culture, it has been largely misunderstood and thought of as bad English. Ebonics, originally coined in 1973 by someone with good intentions from Ebony and Phonics. Ooh, I didn't know that. We learned something new today. But now, Ebonics is a slur. It generally is used as ghetto talk or a black accent, which is all trash, and it's misunderstood. It is emphatically not bad English. It is a full-fledged dialect like British English or Australian English. It is entirely rule-bound, meaning it is very clear grammar, which can be and has been described in great detail. It is not simply ungrammatical. If you do not conform to the grammar of the AAVE, the result is ungrammatical sentences in the AAVE. Its grammar is very different than many other dialects of English. In fact, it can do some really cool things that other varieties of English cannot. Without further ado, let's hop back into what I was saying about it. Since they classified African American Vernacular English as a vernacular English that legitimizes it in academia, it recognizes that AAVE, or African American language, because I think that's really cool, has its own set of grammar. It has its own rules. It is a dialect. And if you say something ungrammatical in AAVE, it doesn't make sentences. That's just, it's a thing. It is possible. It's a part of it. It's not just slang. Now, what has been going on Twitter to piss me off about my language, Black English, African American language, AAVE? I think I'm going to stick to AAVE and just make this video succinct. So on Twitter, that kombucha girl, she decided to hop onto TikTok and say,
fine line between genuinely calling out a creator that's using AAVE or the black scent for like putting it on for comedic purposes versus like quoting something. You know what I mean? Like the Nicki Minaj thing, a big boobs. Cha, anyways, like that's a meme, obviously. So when someone's quoting that, or when someone says like period, cis, whatever, snatched, all that it's very much like internet culture. Like Stan Twitter, like Stan culture has its own language.
It's completely wrong. I'm so sorry that Stan Twitter decided to co-opt how they read Black people speaking to each other on Black Twitter and think that it is now Stan Twitter lingo, when that has never been the case and that will never be the case. Now, the problem isn't just Kombucha Girl saying that it's not AAVE, it's some made up bullshit that memers have taken. It's that a ton of non-Black people on Twitter are saying that this is just meme language or Twitter speak or internet slang. And it's like, Brody, my language is not internet slang. It is not meme slang. It ain't none of that. Like, it's my language. This is how I fucking talk. What's that? Yeah. So then that started all these back and forths between Black people and basically the rest of Twitter about how almost everything that they say, almost every way that they do something was stolen and hijacked from Black people. And you got a couple Black people co-signing with them. Oh, we can't just say it's ours and kick them out of, using words and stuff and yada yada yada. We're not trying to kick them out of using words. We're trying to educate on what they're using. I will go into even more detail for my non-Twitter files. All over the internet, because it isn't just Twitter, all over the internet, Black language has been co-opted and it's used literally all the time. Everyone says "who child," even though they pronounce it wrong. And everyone does. I mean, they just say everything. Like anything that we got going on Twitter, you're gonna see it come out of somebody else's mouth, and that in itself is not a problem. It's not a problem that they start using phrases and words and slang that comes from AAVE. The problem comes when, one, it's used as a joke. Two, it's used incorrectly, like grammatically incorrect. And three, when they try to tell us this isn't ours, we didn't come up with it, they did. Appropriation. That's what that is. That's Columbusing and appropriating. Let's talk about my first point, which was that the fuck was my first point again? That it's a joke. Now let's talk about how the internet started co-opting Black sense and AAVE and using it in the first place. Now, everything I'm about to say is from my own experience. It could very well be different experiences, especially for Generation Z, because they grew up in an entirely different internet environment than I did. And with different people with different thought processes. for me, a millennial who spent a lot of time on the internet her entire upbringing, people on the internet did not all used to just speak in general black accent or AAVE. It seemed like everyone spoke as properly as possible because in the beginning of texting and things like that on the internet, you just wanted to make sure people understood you, and you didn't know necessarily who you were talking to, if they were black or if they were white, if they would get what you're saying. Of course, regional dialects are different, regional slang is different. So I feel like for the most part, people talk properly on the internet. And then also, back then, like early 2000s, I don't think people knew how to spell the way black people pronounce things. Like, I don't know, right? I used to always write, I don't know. Most black people still write IDK, before that was a thing. Like everybody wrote IDK or I don't know. I don't know until IDK became a thing. And then finally, black people were like, oh, I don't know is IONO. I don't know. And now that's like, if we write IONO, we know that somebody's saying I don't know or IDK or I don't know. So in the beginning, we didn't know how to spell out the way that we said things. We kind of figured that shit out as time went on. But in the beginning, when we're figuring it out and we're in these spaces where you don't necessarily know who's who and what they are or who they are, you come off as, exactly what they considered Ebonics to be. You're stupid, ungrammatical, ghetto, uneducated if you said IONO instead of IDONTKNOW, So initially, when non-blacks started co-opting the way that we wrote the things that we wrote or the way that we write the things that we write, was to make fun of us. We were a joke. I specifically remember when I was in school, we'll just call it school, like a training school. I was with pretty much not pretty much. I was the only black person in my class at this time. I was an adult. This was like 2011. I was the only black person, but it was a pretty diverse class. We had some Koreans, we had a lot of white people, we had Native Americans, yada yada yada. I remember one of the white guys took a liking to me, and me and him started chatting outside of class. And it was 2011, so the chatting was still mostly texting. And when the other white guys in the class found out, they like ran up to him and they were like, does she text how she talks? And he was like, I mean, yeah, she does. He's completely confused because he's not a fucking bigot or racist or anything. And they're just like cackling and laughing and living their best freaking lives at the thought of me typing things like IONO instead of I don't know. Because how often do I truly say I don't know as opposed to me saying I don't know? Very rarely. Only when I'm talking to somebody who makes a lot more money than me and who could possibly sign my paychecks one day. Definitely not to these guys. So it's like, when non-black people found out that we typed like this, it was hilarious to them. It was a joke. We weren't taken seriously. We weren't considered educated. My classmates knew that I was one of the smartest people among them. I stayed in the top 3 of my class, but they constantly chided me for the way that I spoke. I'm the smartest motherfucker in this room, and y'all getting on me for how I talk? Make that make sense. Does it matter if I'm speaking proper American English or black English if my grades reflect my intelligence? But, it does to racists and bigots. that's really just me trying to really orchestrate my point in saying that when non-black people picked up on the fact that we typed differently, anytime that they did it in the beginning, anytime that they did it too, was to mock us. It was a joke. It was a laugh at our expense. They would say something like, oh, well, Shanae said she don't know, you know, and they would always type it wrong. Like, their grammar was always off. You could always tell it was a non-black person doing it as a joke because, one, the joke was always rooted in racism, and two, the grammar was always but that just was kind of a way of life on the internet in 2010 and 11 and 12, you know, back when Shane Dawson was allowed to do blackface and he wasn't canceled. We were openly mocked by people all over the internet on every site, and they mocked our language and they used it, and they mocked us so much. Now we're at this point now where white people just think that they made it up. That's how far we've come. It went from ironically mocking us to now they think it's theirs and they created it 10 seconds ago. But we're going to get into us being a joke when I get back to point number 3. Yes. Because I think, these are my opinions, I think when it started with us, with our language being a joke, it was a different generation. I think millennials were the ones joking and laughing about the way that we talked. And I don't think Gen Z picked up on the joke. So they just thought it was the way that people talked. And we'll get back into that. I actually think that is a good segue into my last point. So I'm going to move these around. You know, number 2 is now number 3, and number 3 is now number 2, which was, you need to respect and recognize where it came from. I think when AAVE was first noted by non-black people in internet spaces and in texting and things like that, and then it was used to mock us, I don't necessarily think those were the exact same people that are now using it unironically. What I'm saying is I do believe that millennials, because that's who I was in class with, racist millennials, not all of them, racist millennials used it to mock us. They were reusing it to tell a joke and made it into a joke and used it so much that when Gen Z started coming across it, they didn't catch on to the joke. They didn't realize, you know, this was poking fun at black people. So they just picked up on it and they started using it because it sounds cool, because it do. And now, here we are. They don't realize that everything that they've seen has either been a racist joke or just black people talking with each other. And they're like, yeah, I saw it on the internet, so it's internet speak. No, boo-boo. No, honey. It is not. It is not internet speak. It ain't originate online or on Twitter or with Stans or with TikTok or with Nikita Dragon or with the Kardashian clan or anybody else that blackfishes and uses a black scent because they think it's cool and trendy and the thing to do. I have been listening to black women say child my whole life. I have been saying child my whole life. This isn't some new shit. Not only that, y'all don't even say it right. I came across this video just this morning on Twitter. Look at this. Listen to these clips.
I'm so dumb. Oh my God. It makes sense. Child. Anyway, so okay, me and all my friends say chili. Okay, I didn't know that. I feel so stupid. Oh my gosh.
This girl said, be all my friends been saying Chile, the country. You know what that screams? You know what that says? She ain't got no black friends. So she ain't got no reason having a black scent in any of her videos. She ain't got no reason saying the words if she don't even know how they supposed to be pronounced. It is not Chile. It is not Chile. It's child. It's a shortened version of child. Grammar lesson time. Do you know why black people took the word child, dropped the D, and added an E? I'll give you a second to think about that. Why did we drop the D and add an E? All right. For all of you who didn't use that time and figure it out, I'm also kind of a nerd for linguistics, so excuse me for the pop quiz. But when you put an E at the end of a word and there was a consonant but then a vowel, it makes the vowel a long vowel. So if we would have just put CHIL, it would have been pronounced chill. CHILE is pronounced child because the E makes the I a long I. Child. Now tell me again that AAVE doesn't have a grammar pattern, because it does. Now if any of y'all understood grammar and how it interacts with AAVE and in the English language, then you would have never fixed your lips to pronounce child as Chile. That don't make no damn sense. What are we speaking? Spanish? No, we speaking English. It's just black English. It blows my mind. It blows my mind. It blows my mind. We're gonna stay on this topic though before I use that as a segue into the next topic. I don't necessarily think that the current people saying Twitter, meme Twitter, internet slang Twitter knows that AAVE. I don't think they ever knew that it had these kinds of origins, that it went from being a joke and heavily mocked to being something that they are using all the time. And I mean, they even said so themselves. How are we supposed to know that it was AAVE? I mean, if you just look at the AAVE, the people that you're stealing these words from, I think that would tell you. You didn't get all this stuff from just people who got cartoons or celebrities as their AAVEs. You took it from black people. But no, you heard it from a friend who heard it from a friend who heard it from a friend who stole it from black Twitter. Yeah. You 6 degrees have separated yourself from blame. But the truth of the matter is, it was still stolen. And my problem with it being stolen, and even if you didn't know that it was stolen, my issue comes in when all week we, as in black people, have been saying, no, that's just AAVE and y'all all been using it wrong for forever, but we just let that shit rock. No, the problem comes in, we've been saying that all week, and then they come back and tell us we're wrong. That's not AAVE. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Stop telling us it's something that is not. It always is. Anytime you think you came across something new and y'all just discovered it and it was just created on the internet, like simp. Oh, I literally just saw somebody say simp was just created on the internet and it's internet speak and not AAVE. We've been using simp my whole life, bro. Chill out. Like, you don't even understand. You don't even know what you're talking about. So if we telling you it came from us, just shut up and listen. Just shut up and listen. If we said it's ours, it's ours. We ain't got no reason to really lie about that. It's not like we getting paid for it. We don't get paid for nothing nobody steal. So the Chile one that I already talked about, that is honestly a good segue into point number 3. If you're gonna use it right. I don't think, I mean, we probably do. There are probably plenty of people that do, and I'm getting annoyed too. But it's not like black people are truly saying y'all can't use AAVE anymore. We can't police that. We can't stop you. If you want to use it, you're going to use it. The problem is when you use it wrong, you just look dumb. And now we laughing at you. And then y'all get mad that we laughing at y'all for using it wrong. And then also in the same breath tell us that it's not AAVE when we laugh at you for telling you that you're using it wrong. Like when you say chili instead of child. I mean, there are honestly a ton of examples. These are just the only ones on the forefront of my mind because I just saw these tweets like this morning and yesterday. But a lot of people grammatically use AAVE incorrect. It reminds me of that show. What was that movie? Malibu's Most Wanted, where the dude from Malibu had taken on a black accent. And he just sounded dumb. Not because he was speaking in a black accent, which did sound dumb, but also because everything he said was grammatically incorrect. It just sounded silly. So before we move on into the part where I just rant until I finish my hair, let's summarize my 3 main points here. I'm going to do my best to summarize. I didn't take notes. 1, everything under the sun is AAVE. Okay, that's a little aggressive. Maybe not everything under the sun. But for the most part, this slang that you see on Twitter and Tumblr and everywhere else, and that you see all these non-black people using that you don't quite understand, you don't know its origins. It wasn't the internet. It was black people. It is AAVE. That's it. 2, you need to understand and recognize the origins. First of all, non-black people started using it to make fun of black people. That is a problem. Address it. 2, y'all didn't create it, and you need to just accept that fact. Accept that fact that you didn't know where it came from because it was hijacked from black people. You know, like rock and roll and the blues and jazz and everything else that has ever been stolen. And the laymen are like, oh, I don't know, this is good music, and I heard Elvis sing it. So, yeah, white people created it. But 3, if you're gonna use it, which y'all will, y'all not gonna stop. Try to use it right. I mean, damn. How the fuck you been saying Chile all these years? Didn't you see that viral video of when we laughed at that one white girl for saying, woo, Chile? You missed that? How you missed that? We laughed for ages after that. When we found out y'all weren't even saying child. You were saying Chile. Even worse. This girl was even worse. She said chili. You would walk around saying chili. What? Because chili. What? In what world does that sound right? You think we walk around here calling each other peppers? If your mama, your whole life, never called you a chili, you shouldn't be using it. Well, I won't say that. Use whatever the hell you want to use. But if your mama never called you a chili, it's probably because a black mom needed to be calling you that. And you're not black, so, you know. So at one point, I did see somebody post a list of slang terms that were AAVE. Like, it was just words like child and things like that. Let me see if I can pull it up. My hands are dirty. Posted a list of slang terms that are AAVE. I mean, whatever. The list is what it is. It had things like cis, child, it's the, for me, the way that, dead ass, the girls, all that stuff. Like, it had words like that on it. And I actually got into a Twitter discussion, because that's what I do, with a black person. I'm assuming you can't always tell on Twitter, but she seemed black, and her AAVE was a cartoon, and I guess she works in academia somewhere. I'm assuming not linguistics, because her argument was pretty baseless. But she was saying that, we can't, well, the first statement that I didn't agree with was, she said that a lot of those words came from the LGBTQ plus community, not the black community, so we can't steal them. And then her second point was that we should normalize other people saying it, because black people saying it further reinforces the stereotype that we're stupid and uneducated. We're going to get into that second one, because she fleshed it out a little more in a little bit. But I just want to lightly touch on the first part, even though I think this one will warrant some backlash, but I don't truly give a fuck. What I said to her then, and what I still stand by, is, was it made by the LGBTQ plus community, or was it made by the black LGBTQ plus community? Because that distinction is important, because it makes it AAVE. Now, her second point was the point that I took the most issue with. And then she flushed it out, and she just made it worse. She was advocating for normalizing non-black people speaking AAVE. And her reasons were that if we normalize it, it destigmatizes it. It no longer makes it a stereotype for us, because everyone's using it. So it no longer paints us as uneducated and us as grammatically incorrect. It is now something that everyone uses. So that makes it okay. She said she wanted us to use it less still, as a survivability tactic, code switching. She wants black people to use it less and non-black people to use it more, so that not only is it destigmatized, but black people are still protected from the stigma that surrounds it. If I can find this argument, I will definitely pop these tweets on the screen. But I'm on Twitter like all the time, so I'd have to really search through the things that I type to find that. But let me tell you all the ways that I think it's stupid. So she wants us, black people, to not use it, so that we can maneuver through these non-black spaces and have better upwards or lateral movement, in whichever way we see fit, for survivability. Okay, cool. We already do that. It's called code switching. I don't speak the same way that I speak with my friends as I do at work. I don't speak the same way that I speak with my black friends as I do with my white friends. I code switch all the time to navigate through these environments that aren't as friendly to the way that I would normally be talking. So that's already done deal. But then encouraging non-black people to use it more, so as destigmatized, that's stupid. And I'll tell you why. Her point in encouraging non-black people to use it more was stupid, because it is not on us to make something non-stereotypical. It is not on the oppressed to make the oppressors think that what we're doing isn't bad. It is not my job to make a racist think that me liking watermelon isn't stereotypical because everyone likes watermelon. That makes sense? Just because me and Timmy and Tommy and Billy and Bobby and Karen and Susie all like watermelon, which they do. Black people are legitimately not the only people that like watermelon. But when I say I like watermelon, it's a problem. So what she's saying is, if we get everyone to like watermelon, then they'll no longer associate it with black people, and then it won't be ignorant anymore if black people use it, right? Or if black people eat watermelon. But she was also saying that black people shouldn't eat watermelon because it makes us look bad. Did that analogy make sense to y'all? I mean, I think the analogy made sense. But does her argument make any more fucking sense to y'all? Because it don't make no damn sense to me. Because what the fuck? Everybody eats watermelon. Everybody already eats watermelon. You know, non-metaphorically anymore. Everybody eats watermelon. But when I am in a room of white people and I say my favorite fruit is watermelon, I get looked at crazy. Because it doesn't matter if everyone likes it. If they still associate it negatively with black people, it isn't my job for them to unassociate. It is not my job to teach them to unassociate it. I cannot do that. I cannot encourage someone to unassociate bigot thoughts. They need to do that themselves. I'm not going to pretend that I don't like watermelon so that Billy don't think bad of me because I like watermelon. The fuck? That don't even make sense. So you telling me I can't speak how I normally speak around white people because they're going to think bad of me, but I should encourage them to say it. Because maybe if they say it, they'll stop thinking bad of me. Do y'all see how I just disproved that? How that doesn't even make sense? Everybody like fried chicken. Who don't? If not everybody, if people didn't like fried chicken as much as they think black people like fried chicken, Popeyes, Chick-fil-A, and KFC all wouldn't be able to survive in this economy. So obviously, it's more than just a little 13% of the population that's black eating fried chicken all the damn time. But no, if I walk into work with a bucket of fried chicken, they're going to look at me crazy because it's fried chicken. But if Chad does, oh, Chad brought in chicken today. That's it. They don't think nothing crazy about that. And me doing it or not doing it doesn't erase or enforce any stereotypes. They're going to stereotype me because they're bigots. That's the end of that. So telling me don't use it, but encouraging them to use it to try to erase some kind of stereotype, that is insane. It don't even make no sense. It don't make no sense. It don't make sense. You're putting on me, you're putting on black people the onus to change someone else's mind. Sure, we can educate. Sure, we can encourage. Sure, we should try not to shut them out of something. We should, in some ways, share our culture so that, you know, it's not this huge mystery and easy to stereotype negatively. You know, if we take a stance of education, sure, that should help bigots not be bigots anymore, instead of just shutting them off completely and acting like they don't exist and just living our lives. Cultural sharing is the best way to truly encourage diversity. Yes. But telling us not to do something because it enforces a stereotype is not the way to do that. It is not the way to do that. So another point this person made, as well as several other people, when that list came out, and then also someone decided to make an entire AAVE translator for people at one point on Twitter. But when that list of AAVE words came out, this person and a lot of people tried to reduce AAVE to just slang And I mean, for me and this girl's little Twitter discussion, at that point, that's when I knew that she was not in linguistic academics, because you don't understand. Like, to me, that made it clear that you don't understand how dialects work and how vocabulary uses work. And the fact that AAVE is the simple fact that it's considered a vernacular English. I mean, it takes, you can't reduce our language to just slang. It's not just a bunch of slang terms put on a piece of paper and boom, now that you memorize these words like a vocabulary quiz, you can speak perfect AAVE, because you can't. We've seen that. Like, and then I also made the point about why child is spelled with an E instead of just CHIL or CHIIL. There's grammar to it, and it's a dialect. AAVE is a dialect, and if you recognize it as such, if you acknowledge that it is a dialect, you can no longer call the words that we say, the terms that we use, and the way that we use them as slang. It is not slang. It's vocabulary. In this dialect, it is no longer just slang of English. It is a vocabulary word. Every language has its own vocabulary. That's like the differences between Farsi and Dari. Yeah, their grammar is similar enough. Their words are similar enough to where if you learn Farsi, you can probably pick up Dari. But they're considered two different languages because Dari is a dialect of Farsi. Does that make sense? Like, if Dari gets to be a dialect of Farsi, when they have some words that are used differently, AAVE is a dialect of English. I mean, it has been recognized as such by people with actual doctorates in linguistics. So do not minimize our vocabulary as just slang. It's not slang, it's vocabulary. And I also say that because we just plain old don't use words the same way that they're supposed to be used. Like, I remember when I was in class with all these racist people, I called something trifling. Trifling is actually spelled TRIFLING. Trifling. My entire life I pronounced it trifling. No G, closer to a T at the end, but really whatever's at the after that N is silent. And what trifling always meant to me growing up was trifling is like when someone's doing something egregiously wrong, like let's say somebody took a shit in the middle of the road. Oh, that's trifling. Oh, you trifling. Or you stealing from your mama's purse. That's trifling. Like, that's trifling, right? I said that in class with these people, and they decided to look up the actual definition of trifling. And it does not mean that. It means this. I'm going to put it up on the screen and I read it because my hands are full and I can't Google it right now, but I want to move on and not pause. So I never knew that was the actual definition of trifling. I don't think I ever truly realized there was a G at the end of trifling. It was trifling. That's what I said my whole life. Something is trifling. And I never use it that way, but I use it in a way that pretty much every black person in America can understand. We all know what we mean when we say something trifling. Now, people don't say trifling as much anymore because as language evolves, words go in and out of use. People don't use trifling as near, like, pretty much at all. Like, I haven't heard trifling in a long time. But I'd be surprised if there were a large amount of black people that didn't know what I meant if I said something was trifling. Like, people know what it means. Black people, we know what it means. It may not be in use, but we know what the word is. Basically, my point with that is you cannot reduce this dialect that is AAVE into just vocabulary words. It's not that simple. It ain't that simple. And it's also about how, like I've talked about the grammar. Like, no, I can't truly give examples right now. It's like I've never taught a class or read a handbook on how to speak AAVE. So I don't know how to explain the grammar myself. I haven't done research into it. I just kind of was raised in it, so I know it. It's like people who can't teach English classes or understand all the participles of the sentence, but they can speak English well because it's their native tongue. That's how I feel about AAVE. No, I can't give you an example right now of a grammatically correct versus a grammatically incorrect sentence in AAVE. But they're out there. I've seen them on Twitter. If I come across any, I will gladly include them in this video because they always are hilarious. They don't even make no damn sense. I don't know how better articulate my point with that one, but it ain't slang. That's what I'm getting at. But I feel pretty ranted out for the most part, I guess. While I finish up, feel free to enjoy some of these tweets that I have bookmarked to laugh at or to illustrate my point. I mean, if it's got a red heart, you can see that I agree with it myself when it comes to AAVE and what it is and its importance to the Black community. And then I'm gonna finish up. All right, and that concludes my first ever commentary video. What do you guys think I should call this? Leave some suggestions down in the comment box, in the comment section, about what you think I should call this. Like, Kenny JD has Bad Movies and a Beat, and then Sydney Black has Makeup and Mindset, and then Bailey Sarian has Murder, Mystery, and Makeup Mondays. All of them do makeup. I watch a lot of makeup videos and like no hair videos. So like, what should I call this? You know, my hair and my commentary, because I want to do this every week. Because I need to do my hair every week, and this is good motivation for me to actually do it every week. Yeah, so you guys can expect more content like this. There are tons of things on Twitter that piss me off all the time, and I do need to do my hair regularly, so expect to see more of these videos. And then also, I really want to do these videos so that you can see more of my personality, because just in like the DIY videos and like the skincare videos are kind of short. Like, you don't really know like my thoughts and my feelings and how I actually am all the time, which is pretty animated. So there will be more of these, and I've really enjoyed shooting this actually also because I did need to do my hair. So yeah, well, I guess I'll do my outro. If you like this video, make sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel so you can see more like it. I really enjoyed shooting this. I think that I will have a good time shooting things like this. You guys can see my personality and whatnot. Yeah, so I'll see you next week. I don't know what the video is gonna be yet, but I will see you then. Bye.